Hello. What's wrong with your microphone? I used the wrong... I'm just not a good producer.
Hey. Oh, hey. I can hear me now. I exist. I am here. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, unsuspecting people of the world?
Unsuspecting people of the world.
Prepare yourself. Did that work?
No, I'm being a terrible
You're
producer
not on
right
point
now.
tonight. No.
Like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just pressing all of the freaking buttons, and they're not doing what I want them to do.
Apparently, you have a button pushing problem today.
I have a serious button pushing problem
That's
today.
okay. Apparently, a lot of people had button pushing problems.
Hey, I don't know what to say.
You're not alone. Hey, you're good at other stuff. Pushing buttons, not your strongest suit. I got you, bro. I will push buttons, but I'm not very good at pushing buttons.
Well, I had this set up so when I started streaming, it gave me like a little like go live button up there,
Right.
like from the actual YouTube thing, but that didn't work. When I pressed the stream button, it was just like, oh, I'm just gonna go live.
Oh,
And it just went live.
okay.
So then people got to watch us for like a minute and a half, just sit and make
Screaming.
weird noises
A real look into our lives
as I was trying to set up the stream.
our normal existence.
Right.
Just making weird noises. Speaking of weird noises, have you guys checked out Auntie Donna on Netflix?
No,
Everything's a drum. Everything's a drum.
uh,
Go check out
that's
Auntie
what they're
Donna.
called. It's Auntie Donna.
Auntie Donna.
Okay,
They're the
all
most ridiculous comedy sketch show I've ever seen, and for some reason, I like it more and more every time I see it.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about Auntie Donna. We're here to talk about
Krakens.
Krakens. Yeah, that's a good lead-in.
Yeah, the Krakens.
The less interesting kind of Kraken. You know, we're not talking about this great like Cthulhu beast coming out of
Yeah, that.
that's
a good
the
Cthulhu.
woodworks and all that shit. We're talking about some weird stuff about the whole political election stuff.
Yeah.
And we never really wanted to. We are far more conspiracy pundits than we are political pundits.
Yes.
But for some reason, all of our conspiracies right now they're fucking right there. They're in the mainstream. They're what you're watching or not watching.
Or not watching.
And, feel free to call us out if we've got this wrong because, limited perspective as we all operate within. But, okay, if I was not, like, living with you and, like, consuming the same kind of content that you search for, I would have no idea that this is actually the most contested election in U.S. history. The election with the most fraud. Because all the information I get from everywhere else says that's not true. They say that the whole Trump campaign is just crazy. And they have no legal standing for anything they're doing. And they're just making stuff up. An orange man isn't going to leave the White House. I mean, fucking... Like, oh... Excuse me. Get back down there, frog. I eat frogs before podcasts.
Yeah.
For power.
That makes sense.
But Obama went on a fucking talk show or late night show and was talking about how they're gonna have to like remove Trump from office and all that stuff.
Yeah, with Navy SEALs.
And it's like, what? It's such a bizarre situation because like we've talked about this before. I'm on the fence and looking at both sides and I'm like, this shit is ridiculous on either side because one side is deliberately blocking shitloads of information and has a seemingly totalitarian grip on the news and the media and all of the information that the people get. And the other side seems to have the legal precedents for moving forward in this stuff.
Well, it's so difficult because in order to really understand the depth of what's going on, you have to dig a lot and you have to be looking at a lot of different resources, I guess, because like all of the people that are letting this information out there's not just one place you can go to get the whole picture. Like, you have to look into multiple different interviews, multiple different, I guess, perspectives and people talking to the legal team, I guess, Trump's legal team, and to figure out what's going on. Because if you look at, like, just mainstream headlines, right? Like, people are sharing these on Facebook and Twitter and all that shit. It's literally like, Trump is just a crazy dictator. He's throwing a hissy fit, and all of these legal pursuits are like normal, and they're all gonna fail. Like, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, president and VP, like, no questions asked. That's all it is. And that is incredibly manipulative, because what's happening right now.
Well, first off, the only reason that everybody believes that Biden won is because the media said that he won. And, you know, there's precedents for that. That happened with Gore, too. The media claimed it, and so everybody believed it, but then it turned out to be absolutely wrong. So, but that was one state being contested, too.
Right.
And everyone's acting like, absolutely, this is the only outcome that can occur. It's like,
yeah.
There's...
See, the thing is, I don't know how many people... You say that there's a lot more in your sphere that you're seeing on the side of, like Biden's just the president, that's it, Trump's throwing hissy fit.
Yeah,
There's more of those types of people in your sphere.
And I mean, they're in my spheres still, because I don't feel the desire to argue with people or try to prove people wrong, because honestly, I don't think I ever know the real truth. I just think information is the only way that you can see the real truth. And if you're fighting information, then you're missing an opportunity to see a bigger picture. Like, even if the information's wrong, like, you should be able to entertain the idea. There shouldn't be a personal feel, you know?
Which is why I guess I have one thing that I want to say to the fraud deniers, right? The people saying, like, yeah, there's no fraud, it's all nonsense.
Half of me is really hoping you're about to just, like, fucking, like, get so angry and start screaming into the mic, get all red in the face. Like,
No.
And that's the one thing you're gonna say.
I mean, I'm still...
How dare you, Trump for life!
No. I'm still a little bit residually high, so...
Oh, nice.
I got that Delta 8 in my blood right now, so I'm pretty chill.
Highly recommend Delta 8. It's fun. If you can't smoke weed because weed gives you anxiety, which apparently happens to me now, as I found out in a Chicago underground parking lot. Yeah. Buck, Delta 8 is not as rough. It's a nice little, like, oh, hey, so this is what being high is supposed to feel like. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, yeah, things that I'm trying to say. I'm trying.
That Grant will not let you because he's amped up on alpha brain.
I need the energy. I need it.
Everything's
but something that I want to say to people who are, I guess, denying the idea that there's any way that, like, Trump can possibly win this, that this whole thing, like, all his entire legal team are just conspiracy theory crazies. If what they're saying is false, maybe we should go through what they're saying first.
Yeah. Let's break it down a little bit, because I know for a fact, like, my sisters or, like, family members and people in my sphere, they don't even have an idea of what's actually being said, because the thing that's being perpetuated is just, like, they're completely unfounded. Everything's made up, and it's. What exactly has come forward? You know this better than I do.
Okay, so in the press conference 2 days ago, which by many people on the other side was called the most dangerous thing that's ever, or like the most dangerous press conference that's ever happened, because it was filled with lies and conspiracy theories, right? That in the media refuses to cover it, like mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News won't cover it. So there's, like, independent broadcasting stations who are doing the United States president's press briefings because the mainstream media refuses to do it.
Which, like,
like
just taking that one like alone and putting it aside, it's like, what does the media do? They report on things. What is the media currently doing? They are deciding what you should and should not be allowed to hear.
Yes.
Because whether it's dangerous or not, having a monopoly group, because that's what the media is. It's a monopoly group. You can't like break into it and be like, now I'm mainstream. Mm-hmm. Having something like that control and decide what information is appropriate and what isn't, and taking you out of the equation entirely, that's some totalitarian shit. And that's not happening from Trump.
That's incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous to the degree that there's a lot of people saying that they're probably going to delete Trump's social media soon. That they're probably going to like just completely remove him, like ban him from Twitter and stuff. So that, which is interesting because pretty much every single thing that he posts now on any of his social media, there's the little box that says, this has been fact checked by independent fact checkers, or this claim of election fraud is disputed. Like,
they don't put any of that up on Biden's stuff though.
No, nothing.
No, which is interesting because in factual evidence, and once again, I don't like Trump. I'm not team Trump. I'm just not team Biden.
Yeah.
The fact that they will not say that this claim is disputed when in fact there are legal proceedings saying that Biden's election results are like in our court system being disputed.
Right. That's
super clear evidence of like, yo, you're misrepresenting the information that the public is receiving. Mm-hmm. And they only get their information from y'all. You can't do that. You have a moral obligation. I heard it said on one of your things where reporters, and actually we had a pretty good talk about this one day, where reporters used to, like, you used to see this in the movies too, or in like shows where reporters were like, I'm after that dig, I'm after that truth, I'm after that scoop, I want to find the truth. And now it's like, I had never really noticed this because I the only person I can name is like Walter Cronkite or something like that. But news people are their own kind of brand of famous. Like, not like famous, like you look out there and you're like, oh yeah, Jennifer Lawrence, Zac Efron kind of famous. They're like an equivalent of like a YouTube famous kind of thing. So they're not going for giving you information anymore. They're going
for the fame spot,
for that fucking like zinger. And then it goes viral when you YouTube, and it's like best news takedowns, and it's like, oh yeah, this is my guy Tucker Carlson coming in here. I remembered another one. Look at him just doing SmackDown.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's I guess I don't even know how to explain like what watching the media is, because YouTube is constantly advertising like CNN and MSNBC like segments to me. Yeah. Like constantly. And every once in a while I'll click on them.
Well, it's important that you do that. And you don't want to end up in just a pure echo chamber.
Right. And I try and listen. And I'm like, I can't, man. It makes me absolutely furious because these motherfuckers, it's the most blatant lying and manipulation that I have ever seen in my life. Like, it's like these people don't even, they're not even people. They're freaking robots. It's like every single one of them is reading off of a teleprompter. Like, there's nothing authentic being said. There's no original thoughts being had. There's no questioning anything being done. It's just all like, this is what you should think, and anything outside of that is just crazy, baseless conspiracy theory. There's no investigation. There's no anything. Like how can you sit and watch like the people who are supposed to be informing the public of what's happening in the world, so we have an idea, and have it be that, like, have it be on that level? That's just so messed up. It's so messed up. Like
I've seen a couple of things pop up here and there on, our conspiracy on Reddit, because that's my home, and it is kind of comical. I'd have to dig for an example, maybe I can find it, but they use this exact wordage, the exact taglines. It'll be like 3 sentences in the exact phrasing, and it'll be perpetuated across dozens of people on like one side. It's like they're copy pasting, or they're getting an email early in the morning being like, this is the social media thing that you're going to put out today. Make sure it goes out before this time. And then you look across the spectrum, and it's like literally 16 people are saying the exact same thing, and they don't realize they're saying the same thing because they're getting some sort of like contact. Like the DNC is like in there being like, we've constructed what you were to say to the public through your social media. Make sure you have your blue check mark.
Right. And that,
man, I always end up sounding like some like super conservative pundit, and I'm just like, and I don't feel that. I don't feel that. I really just feel the conspiracy in my bones, and I'm like,
yeah, if the conspiracy was in the other direction and it was convincing, I'd be all for it.
Yeah,
I'd be all for
it. I think
it.
I would be more for it.
Yeah.
I think I would more readily like attack Republicans and Trump. Oh my God. If this was flipped and it was just like Trump being a total jackass and we could see it for like what it was and there wasn't any of this like under stuff, man, that'd be so much easier. Because right now I'm fighting the instinct to side with my people.
Yeah.
The people that I generally always fall into.
Yeah. And that's the part with me. If the conspiracy was on the other side and you could present convincing enough evidence, like I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I would go for it.
Like a part that I haven't heard contested by anybody, and I think that's suspicious, is the affidavits. Because I went on to our law when which is just full of like people who are studying law, lawyers, whatever. And they're all talking about all of these like seemingly benign things that were addressed in the press conference. And I was just reading through, and not one person, which I thought was really strange, brought up like the hundreds of affidavits that people have signed and sworn to and been like, yo, if this is untrue, I get a felony. Like, I know this is true. Hundreds of them supporting the claims that this election is the most fraudulent ever. And all the shit with like Dominion switching votes and all that. That's not even a contested thing. That's a fucking fact.
Yeah, they found it. They found it in Michigan. They found, like, just a couple days after the election started, they found the glitch. There was a system glitch that somehow switched 6,000 votes from Biden to Trump in one county. And they went through and hand counted all the ballots, and they're like, yeah, these were all supposed to be Trump votes, not Biden votes. Like, what the fuck, computer? Why'd you do that? And then all of the election officials in that county went out and put out a news conference and were like, yeah, this happened. We need to recount. And then
the media spins it. They're like, no, this is just some craziness that Trump's doing so that he can remain in office. Remember, guys, Trump is a racist. Yeah. Because we don't have any evidence to show you, but he is, because you hate him too. And it's easy to say that someone's racist without basis, because we can make racism, the definition, serve our purpose.
Well, now they're going the dictator path, that he's like, he's trying to undermine democracy and turn the election around using like really shitty tactics and like legal battles, and he is trying to abuse the system to
which I mean I could see him doing.
Maybe, but
not to say that he is doing that, but I could see that being in his wheelhouse. I don't think it's a crime of a, how do I want to phrase this? I don't think it's criminal to use the system as it was designed and use it to your like benefit. I think it's probably morally sketchy, but it more falls on the system. Like, if the system allows you to put all your money in Panama and you don't have to pay taxes, then I mean, that's
sketchy.
Is that the system's fault, or is it the person's fault?
Right. Probably the system's fault. But the thing is, that's like, I don't personally think that's what's happening, because it's so complicated, man, because when you look at,
and that's why people don't look at it, because it's so much easier to just be like, yeah,
easy answer.
But that's always the fucking way of things. Like, the easy answer is so much more appealing. We've talked about this with the whole critical race theory, where, like, let's not look into all of the data. let's not look into situational things. Let's not look into the socioeconomic standpoints of these statements. Let's just look at race.
The hard thing is, I don't think people even like the general population, man. I don't think is even looking at this stuff. That's what's so crazy about it. Is like the critical race theory things. Like it's a very specific group of people that are even looking at that. Like watching all of the press conferences from the lawyers. Like there's such a. I don't feel like enough people are tuning in. Like there's millions. Yeah, there's millions.
I don't even need people to like I don't want to see everybody tune in and then jump ship and be like, oh yeah, it's all Trump, because that would feel that feels like unrealistic. What I want is people to be talking about it. Yes. People to bring up the valid points and the false points, and to be like slamming them together and be like, okay, now we can objectively cross this one off because it's been canceled by this true statement. Mm-hmm. We can cross this one off because it's canceled by a true statement. But none of that's happening. So I think you were listening to the French president earlier.
Yes. Yes.
And he was saying something along the lines of, the problem with Americans isn't that we disagree. It's that we can look at the exact same thing and derive polar opposite views.
Yes.
Like a Trump supporter can watch the press conference and be like, bam, we fucking got him. We have all of this factual evidence. And then you can go to a Biden supporter and they'll be like, this is all just fake. All of it's fake. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what?
Like, are you
like,
sure?
Where's the fucking truth?
Like, how do you, what?
The discrepancy has gotten so fucking large that there's not even a conversation that can be had unless you're willing to be like, no, I don't side with anybody.
Right, and that's why I'm struggling to even like talk about the current situation in the political sphere, because it's like it's so big and it's so insane that I don't even know how to quantify it in my mind or how to break it down, because it's so complex. It's like it's like watching. It's like I'm watching the establishment media, right? Like all of these news stations basically put out the most powerful propaganda that I've ever seen, like to any of the people that regularly watch them. Like just completely and entirely gaslighting the population, saying, nothing to see here, don't look here, don't look here. All the late night TV show hosts, Jimmy Kimmel, like the Seth Meyers, freaking Obama was on, what's his name? Was it Jimmy
Fallon,
Kimmel? Fallon.
Yeah.
And that just, it's like, you can just see this massive, like, movement. It's very specific. Like, all of the high tech, all of the people that are supposed to be credible, right? All of the credible people, the late night talk show hosts,
but they always fall within the same purview of, they support all the things that the Biden campaign supports. So yes. It's like, if you're looking at them to be this objective and like truthful thing, they get a kickback if their guy gets in. Mm-hmm. Just like if there was a Trump supporting kind of person, they get a kickback. They get more attention.
Yeah, and that's it's not only just a kickback. I feel like there's like detrimental things that they're fighting to stay a part of. Like maybe some of the reporters and some of the late night show hosts, like maybe some of them are legit and like authentic people, right? But I feel like there's like many of them have let's say overlords, corporate overlords that they're answering to, that if they don't do these things, they're screwed. They're not going to have a job anymore. Mm. They're going to be ousted. And the same thing that goes with the regular news hosts and news anchors is like, they're all playing a game. They're there for the money and the fame. They're not there to be reporters and journalists. Most of them aren't. Many of them aren't. There might be a couple. There might be a couple of good ones in there, like even in Fox News. Like Fox News is showing its true colors now too, because they're doing the same thing. After Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell's press conference the other day, that was literally the most epic press conference I have ever seen in my life, because I literally just saw high-level like government lawyers, like people who are extremely accredited and credible and have taken on Rudy Giuliani. I mean, took on the mob in New York City and cleaned up basically the entire thing. Like he cleaned up New York City streets. Like he took down like high organized crime. And Sidney Powell represented Kavanaugh. Like these people have very, very credible pasts in their job, in their careers.
They are incredibly built up into the hierarchy of our society, which brings me to a really interesting point, because and maybe someone else can figure this out and give us a good perspective on this, because always are limited. Like, what if the information is not true that they're coming out with? Their lives are over. Like, no one will ever take them serious again. So you have to back up and be like, why? Why would they do this? Especially if it's as hopeless as like the media that the average American consumes. If it's as hopeless as we're being told it is, why the fuck would people, and I believe most of these people are only looking out for themselves, that will change if I get a better understanding of them, but I have to assume that they're really just in it for like the money and the glory and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Why would they take the fucking risk? Why would they go through with it? If Trump's gonna lose, like, their lives are over. Everything they've ever built, everything they've ever done is over. No one will ever take them seriously again.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, yeah, they were that person that made up all that shit. They might even get prosecuted for bringing up false stuff.
If it's all lies.
Yeah, but if 25% of what they're saying is true, then this is literally the biggest scandal in U.S. history. This is like Watergate times a bajillion.
Yeah, like insanely.
Like the fact that so many different aspects of this election have little like flags going off. And you can push away a lot of it. You can be like, oh yeah, like, I mean, the people outside who weren't allowed to look in, there's probably a good reason. And then you can like sort through that and make your judgment. And you can do that for so many situations. But when it really comes down to it, we've already got the concrete evidence that there's been votes that are flipped. And that's enough.
Yeah. Within the affidavits that Rudy Giuliani is talking about, like, people need to understand what an affidavit is. It's a legally binding statement in court. And if you lie and you are found out to have lied, it's a felony. Like, you're probably going to go to jail for like contempt of court or perjury or like whatever it is.
They've reported that they have hundreds of affidavits.
Hundreds of affidavits. And within one of them, like in Pennsylvania, I think it was, Detroit? I don't remember which city it was. There's so much shit happening. I can't keep it all fucking straight. But in one of these swing state cities, one of the Democrat-run swing state cities, this is what this person outlines their experience through the night. And
continue.
That is very distracting.
Go. This person outlines in their affidavit.
What am I saying?
In Detroit or Pittsburgh or one of these swing cities.
Oh, yeah. Okay. In the affidavit, they outline and say that during the election, they were there, like there were supposed to be Republican inspectors and all this shit. And then they shut down the vote and they say, hey, like, we're stopping counting tonight because nobody can tell us why, right? Nobody can tell us why.
Was there really never a thing that came out saying why they stopped counting?
No. There still hasn't been. The only one that there was in Georgia. They said a pipe burst, which
was proven to not have occurred. I remember.
Yeah, not actually happened.
Sorry, hold on to what you're saying, but I would like to point out how that in itself seems enough reason to recount everything and redo it all very, very carefully, because that's never, as far as we are aware, and I think we've dug a little bit on this, there's never been that occurrence before. And if there's no reason, motherfucker, I smell shit.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this is the rationalization that the media,
because I need a little bit of rationality.
They would say that we're in the middle of a pandemic. People weren't allowed to go outside, so we sent out all of these mail-in ballots. We knew that the mail-in ballots were going to take, like, that the United States Postal Service was going to have issues delivering so many ballots and, like, on time. So they created all of these rules to try and make it so you could count votes after. And there was only a few key places that supposedly made that actually legal, but didn't in the right ways. That's another side. There's so many things, dude.
Just stay on this one. Stay on this one. Don't get overwhelmed.
But that they knew there was going to be ballots that were going to take time to come in, so they stopped counting because they had so many left that were still, like, out on the trucks, right, coming in from the mail, and so they were going to pick it up later. And, like, that was completely normal, and they knew, and they put out the information prior that there was going to be a red mirage, and once all the mail ballots came in, then Joe Biden was going to win.
Yeah, I've had that argument tossed at me that this is totally normal, and that this straight line doesn't mean anything, and that there's actually balanced votes for everything.
Yeah, that's the biggest bullshit that
there's always
can be.
There's always this part of me, though, like, it's said in such a convincing way. And my tendency is to just, like, lean into the things that, maintain the matrix. Because for my entire life, the matrix has been maintained. And there's only been a few cracks in it that I can, like, dig into and be like, okay, yeah, this is fucked. But with, like, our current everyday life, it seems like I don't want to get pulled in. I want to be like, no. Like, everything has a rational explanation.
Yeah.
And Trump's actually the crazy one.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case. I'm
starting to think. God damn it. See, this is the part that gets me, is that I have this war in my head because I want to believe that side and I want to believe this side. And I can't jump down. Like, on either side of the fence. I'm just fucking stuck.
Yeah, we just have to let it play out and see.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm struggling so hard right now, because I have just been glued, man. I have been glued to this happening.
You have.
And there is such an overwhelming amount of circumstantial things that just are mind-bogglingly obvious. And not just election-wise. I'm talking about how the media is covering it as well.
That's the most damning part to me. Like, every time I start to be like, oh, maybe the media is right. Maybe all of this is just junk. I get back to this point of, like, but they're deliberately limiting the information I get on COVID, on pedophilia, on fucking Trump. And it's like, if Trump's wrong, you don't need to limit anything I get from him. It'll be self-evident that the man is lying and he's getting caught in his footholes. Instead, I come in and I'm like, whoa, did you hear about this crazy shit that Trump did? And it's like, oh, wait, I only got 15% of the story.
Yeah.
With the rest of it, fuck, that makes sense. I'd probably do the same fucking shit.
Yeah, that's what's so ridiculous about this current thing. But no, it's not. It's not, because, I mean, they are singing their death tunes, I think, is what is happening. I think
maybe.
They're singing their death tunes.
Maybe.
Because every single piece of the establishment media companies, the ones that we have known forever, have been funded by, big banks and money and oil companies and, like, all of the shit, right? We've known forever that that's the case, that the media stations have been that. Like, to think that they're doing the right thing now, like, just because it's, like, the election, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm at such a loss with this situation because I don't know which direction to go down. Because it's like, do you talk about like what did they talk about in the press conference? They talked about multiple different circumstantial evidence and some data evidence that shows that this was like election meddling on a level that we have never ever seen before in this country. And it sounds so crazy. Like if you just look at it at face value, it sounds absolutely crazy if you're the average person. But when you've been following the political, I guess the political evolution through, you know, the past decade, and you've been watching all of these things happen, like you need all of that back knowledge of like all of the original conspiracy channels that used to be on YouTube that all got taken down, right? Like everything that got blocked, like talking about the Bohemian Grove and the evil cabal that's, you know, manipulating everything, and they're all into like devil worship, and they're trying to control the population, and the Georgia Guidestones depopulating humanity, right?
You're running on a lot of conspiracy cobblestones right now. That's a lot of content.
Like that's all of the that's the main, I guess, sphere of what the original conspiracies were, like that have been kind of underground for decades.
Yeah. Well, we can kind of outline a little bit, because I don't know if everybody has the same purview. Like we're not talking about like the QAnon conspiracy. Like that's like a very new development. Mm-hmm. What goes back for decades, what people have spent their lives on, is proving that, and it's actually a factual thing about a natural law, that power, as well as everything else in nature, accumulates to the very, very highest degree. So it's always going to end up in the hands of the few. What's that fucking thing called?
Pareto distribution.
The Pareto distribution. Thank you. And that happens in fucking space. When you think of planets, you think about stars. There's always a very few that end up with all the mass, with all of the solar junk.
Yeah.
And that happens in nature. It happens in humans throughout history, like going back thousands and thousands of years. If you look at graves, there's a very, very, very few select people who were buried with all of the gold, all the gems, and then everybody else was basically poor. And that's not a condition solely related to capitalism. And as soon as you realize that that's actually a natural law, it becomes much less crazy to think about.
Yes.
And I've actually got a guy. Hang on, I wanted to get his name out there because he's done some incredible work. Daniel Estulin. Daniel Estulin, and he has spent the better part of like 20 years, almost a life's work, working on tracing all of the bloodline lineages going all the way back to ancient Egypt, the high priesthood in ancient Egypt, who were a very similar thing. They were a very, very high, wealthy group that controlled the populace and what the populace got. Those bloodlines go all the way to today. And the only fucking person that isn't connected to the bloodlines is goddamn fucking Trump.
Of course.
Which is obnoxious to me, because I want to be like, fuck that guy too, he's in on it. But the only person that doesn't have like a direct bloodline, we're talking about fucking Obama, we're talking about Reagan, we're talking about literally every president that ever's been has a bloodline connection to the strongest powers that have been throughout all of history. And it sounds like some made up fucking shit. And that's why I gave you his name, because he's got hundreds of hours of information, and he is at like a doctorate level of this shit. Holy with his shit. Detailing. Some of it's in some of it you have to get find an English subtitle for, but it's really great information.
I am so happy that you're just bringing that up to me right now, because I've never heard that before, and that is the greatest news that I've ever. Because I know I've known about that bloodline shit forever, and forever.
The weirdest fucking shit is you can like trace it so cleanly, and it goes through all of the secret societies, Skull and Bones. Everybody's got the bloodline tie in one way or another, and the only people who can like succeed to the next level of power is if they marry someone who's stronger in the bloodline.
Yeah.
And it's fucking wild that this is a real thing. But when you're going down to the nitty gritty of what's provable, you can fucking prove genetics.
Yeah.
So the conspiracy of this is, it's not a fucking conspiracy. We're talking about genetics.
Yeah.
Just trace the family lineage back a couple thousand years and you got it all.
Yeah. It's like what does it look like when the population wakes up to the fact that there has been a very, very small group of people who all come from the same families and bloodlines that have been controlling our lives, our population, our economics, the things we eat, the things we see, the things we consume, the things we learn in school, like everything, like all of these people making these decisions in a very small group. Like
this is the conspiracy. Like it's absolutely crazy. But when you think about the Pareto distribution,
yeah,
it's a normal natural law of everything existing. It's the same fucking thing as like the Fibonacci sequence, a golden spiral. It's a normal natural law. So why is it so absurd? We have it in our society today. Think about the 100 billions that these people have. It's not a crazy thing to think that these people have influence. Like, why wouldn't they? If I had $100 billion, bitch, I don't know who you are. I'd own you.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I own everything.
There's nothing you couldn't do.
Literally nothing.
Like
if you wanted to go and fuck a baby, I bet you could do it.
You could easily. You could probably just order one up on Order one up on fucking takeout, man. That's what
fucking
they do.
Takeout. You just order. You're like,
I like some Chinese food and an infant.
Can I get lo mein and a baby boy 3 months old? This is a fucked up conversation right now. Shit, I feel uncomfortable.
I know.
The idea of like this whole Trump conspiracy, like he's here to fight the evil. Mm-hmm. It's not as ridiculous when you think that the people who he is directly facing off against are tied to these same bloodline, like world powers. Yeah. And I'm not saying that Biden is gonna like be king or Kamala Harris is gonna drive us into the dust. I'm saying like they are the pieces that were put forth to run this next step
by those people. The Great Reset
by the fucking banks. And this isn't like a crazy idea either. Like being privy to the banks and all that shit. It's a pretty common thing. Like everybody in our political realm, think back. Like they all have conversations. They all do business. Like banks have a major decision-making influence within countries. So why is it so fucking crazy that we're going around being like the banks are controlling the fucking world? The people who control the means of socioeconomic development control the world. Bitch, they do. Yeah. That's what they do. That's their job.
Yeah. And
going on rants.
And the Biden-Harris ticket is their insertion. It's their choice. It's their pick. That's why Wall Street donated to them in a 9-to-1 ratio from Trump.
Yeah. So which also, like, this is kind of random, but I've heard this sentiment said before. Like, okay, so in the 2016 election, it was said that the election was hacked by Russian hackers.
Yes.
And that was absolutely what happened. From all of the media, from the Democrats, there were all of these court cases put forward. Not hundreds of millions, tens of millions of dollars. 40 million?
48.
$48 million were put into proving that this happened, that Russians influenced our election, because that could totally happen and we have to be wary of it. Mm-hmm. And then the 2020 election, there couldn't possibly be any election fraud. There's no way this election was influenced by anybody. The Russians can't do it. The Chinese can't do it. We can't do it. It's a foolproof system. That's only 4 years. Nothing in the system changed. So how can you rationalize that in one election, it's definitely fraudulent and then have no proof? And in the next election, there's no way it could be fraudulent. And there's a shitload of proof in the first fucking month. Yeah. Like, God damn it. I'm going to punch a piglet. This is ridiculous.
Man, I understand. I understand so much. That's why I just feel
you're like overwhelmed with this shit at this point.
I am so I am so heavily to a point where I am overloaded with information that I don't even know which direction to go.
That's how I feel about like the ancient history stuff
Like,
too.
I
That's
don't
why I'm
even
working
know-
on a PowerPoint. I'm working on a PowerPoint for you guys, and I'm going to make the case that Atlantis was a real thing and that we are a civilization that's got amnesia. That's for another podcast.
That is for another podcast. This one, we're talking about our evil satanic overlords who have been controlling everything. So,
I don't know what this means. I'm probably doing something really inappropriate live.
yeah.
Whatever. It's fine.
But there's, man, this is, I can't even, I don't know. Like, what do I even say? Like, just go watch the fucking press conference. Like, go watch it.
And question everything. Like, and this is another fucking point that we've talked about before. There's one side that's telling you what you should believe and that other information is dangerous, and then they curtail, they cut clips, they completely don't cover things, and then when they do come back and cover it because it's gotten so much attention, they say it's all fake and that it's dangerous for you to consume information. Yes. And then there's the other side being like, hey, question this. Like, go look into it. We will happily show you our entire process of why we are doing what we are doing. We're going to walk you through it. We're going to be here. We're not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if one side is telling me that I shouldn't be allowed to consume this information because it's dangerous to me, and the other side is saying question everything, bitch, you better believe I'm going to go for the side that says question everything.
Yeah. Right.
The only time I get really against Trump is this I've actually made a realization about this. The like Trump is savior kind of thing, because I think it's extremely dangerous to ever put someone in the position of like, this person is going to save you. That's what I think was a corruption in Christianity when everyone was like, Christ will save us. Yeah. No, what will save you is obtaining Christ consciousness within yourself.
Yes.
Embody Christ. Mm-hmm. That's the saving thing about Christ. And Christ even said that. And I'm all supportive of like the religion stuff now. I see it for what it is. It's these beautiful, enigmatic, what am I looking for? Character kind of stories. These archetypical stories. And with that, it makes perfect fucking sense. Mm-hmm. But oh man, I went on a rant and then I started sprinting the wrong direction. God damn
the
it.
KRAKEN.
The KRAKEN, its tentacles are everywhere and I'm just trying to... the one I want is over
like,
there.
Literally, it is the KRAKEN though, man, because there's so many tentacles.
There's so many tentacles.
There's so many tentacles.
Tentacles. What was it? Okay, I was going into something though.
Oh, about the savior thing, trope.
Right. The only problem I have is this savior mentality that a lot of folks have gotten with Trump, being like, he's going to prevent the apocalypse. He's going to be the good guy. But I realized Trump hasn't necessarily emboldened that. Like, not so much in the way that you can be like, he's actively trying to be like a cult leader. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that I can point to and be like, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I haven't seen the right thing yet, but Trump never went out there and was like, I am your new savior. I'm going to save everybody. I got this. Yeah. It's that other people, in our tendency to do this, because we've done it throughout all of history, it's easier to do it. We gave that to him. We painted that picture around him. Mm-hmm. So when I see, you know, like I was laughing at that video you showed me the other day, when everything Trump was saying in it was like, that's damn good. I like that. Yeah. But there was all this like American flag and like country music, and people were like, and then there was military people being like, I'm doing important stuff. I'm going to kick him this door into this training place. And I was like, this is fucking propaganda. But the stuff that Trump was actually saying wasn't. It wasn't like enticing me into propaganda either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the stuff that he's saying is legit. Just like, there are people who are power hungry that have been manipulating you, that have been manipulating the economic gain, the life game, to make it much harder for you and much easier for them. And
which isn't that ridiculous. It's just like Monopoly. Someone always ends up with all the money, so it's not that crazy to think like, oh yeah, people are actively gaming the system to do that.
Right, and it's... Oh, I'm dying.
I've got like excess energy.
It's not good, man.
Fucking alpha brain.
I know, you alpha brained your ass off, and I'm here like not even present. But I think that's the marker of someone who is someone to look up to, though, is because he's not doing that. He's not saying, "Hey, I'm here to save everybody." What he is doing is pointing to everyone and saying, "Hey, I'm here because I want to help you."
I hope that's what he's saying. I still have this bias in my head that's like that doesn't want to accept that.
Yeah,
which we've talked about a whole lot.
We've talked about that.
As long as we're aware of it, we're fine.
Man, we've been on here for an hour and we haven't gotten a single fucking like proper resolution or
proper resolution. What are we gonna fucking do? Are we gonna jump into that court case and be like, "All right, guys, I got this"? What with my my 4 years?
I wonder in my absolutely boggled brain right now if I can try and like in a nutshell like what's going on right now.
Do it. I believe in you.
I don't know if I can do it. I'm not going to
interrupt you or distract you.
No, you should ask questions at least about anything that I say because I'm going to have trouble. Okay, so Trump's legal team comes out and says there's evidence of massive voter fraud on a level that we have never seen before. And there is evidence that it's connected to very high-ranking officials in our government and like corporate, corporate world. Web. There is a giant web of extremely powerful and rich people that have been stealing elections around the world for decades, and there's now evidence of it, and they're starting to pull the threads of this web, and it's all starting to come down, all of it. And all of the really heavy, like, don't look here, it's a conspiracy, ha ha ha, we're just going to remove Trump with the Navy SEALs. Like, all of that is them trying their absolute damnedest to get the population to believe their side as we watch basically this team of people, of patriotic people who want freedom and liberty, as they unravel this massive web. I would like slowly start to take down the entire control structure that has been falsely leaving people behind, I guess.
Do you remember in Dark Knight with Harvey Dent?
Yes.
And how, though, like, Batman realized he couldn't fucking do it because it was just an endless web.
Yeah.
But he gave the information, and Harvey Dent went through the process of collecting it all so that in one fell swoop he could get every single one of them put away, and they wouldn't have the resources to be able to pull all of them out. They'd only be able to pull out the very, very highest. Yeah. So it's essentially wiping clear the active
Wait, that happened
agents.
In Batman?
Yeah. That's what the Dark Knight one was all about.
Really?
With Two-Face and Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent.
I must have not watched that.
Harvey Dent through because he was the DA.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to do anything. He kept getting like one or two or like one here, and he was doing a good job, but he couldn't do anything for the city until he was able to get all of them in one fell swoop. And then when he did that, it was like the world fucking changed.
Yeah. That's a good
I just
metaphor.
I thought, like, as you were saying that, it was this
click.
It makes fucking sense. Because the reason why that made sense in the movie is because, like, yeah, if there's a giant web of criminals taking a few out here and there, and these criminals have access to unlimited funds, like, what's going to happen? Every single one of them, as long as there's only, like, 20 at a time going in, it's like, we'll just buy out the ones we need for the time being. And, but if you get everybody, and even the big guys get tucked away, it's like, okay, so we need the big guys out. We can't do it for all the rest of them.
Right. So you're saying that Donald Trump is Batman?
No. God, fuck you. You rat bastard motherfucker. Maybe. Oh, fuck, I did. You're fucking
or Harvey
right.
Dent.
Nah. I would say his legal team is acting as Harvey Dent.
Yeah. And
now we have to worry about them being Two-Face.
Oh. Uh-oh.
No one light any fires.
Right. Right. And we find no explosions. That's what Tom Graham, I have to bring him up a lot because I look at his Twitter very frequently because he posts a lot of good information, I guess, like updates on what's happening in this absolutely crazy world. And one of the things that he said like a couple days ago, he's like, keep your eyes open, guys. We're in false flag territory. Yeah.
And if y'all didn't know, every single war that we've ever gone into has been, in one way or another, a false flag event. And I know the only one that people are going to argue about is the 9/11 stuff. I'm not saying that was like some crazy fucking shit where they used missiles or anything. I think it actually happened. But all of the other evidence shows that they knew it was going to happen. They may have even helped it to happen in one way or another.
Right.
Just like the Gulf of Tonkin, the Pearl Harbor. We had foreknowledge of Pearl Harbor. All of these things happened in such a high secrecy, high level way, and you don't even get the full picture. Like 20 years from now, we're going to be able to look back, well, depending on how history goes in the next couple years, we're going to be able to look back at 9/11, and there isn't going to be any doubt. Not that it actually happened or anything like that, but that it was a deliberate move in concert with some element of our government.
Yeah, at least some element of it. And that's the
Otherwise we wouldn't have went into a war that benefited us so much.
Right. That's why
it did.
I'm hooked on this stuff right now, because this is like this next month before the actual inauguration happens, this is like the most crucial time, and probably the craziest shit is going to be happening. I'm waiting for like the internet kill switch to go down. They're going to take down every social media site, and if they do, it's going to be, or if they're still up, it's going to be incredibly limited. They're going to like everything that's ever been even remotely conservative is just going to be deleted, and it's just going to be this clean echo chamber of like only mainstream, like everything is just going to be done for,
which is
I have
interesting,
this crazy feeling that it's just all going to get shut down because the information is getting out that they don't want to get out. Like it's
I always thought this kind of stuff was going to happen when the aliens like arrived.
Yeah.
Like there'd be,
maybe they come after this, man. Maybe they come after this.
We're just in this build up. It's that whole you don't go and lift 400 pounds. You go and get to 300, 325, 350, blah 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 before you can do that. It's like we're being worked out until we can get to the point that like, oh yeah, aliens, I can mentally handle this without an existential crisis and a gun in my mouth. Yeah, this is chill.
Right.
As long as I can still riot.
Right, exactly. I wish that I could have been a little bit more clear, I guess, in my ideas on what's going on. I think it just might take some more time and some more actual.
How clear can we be when the world is what it is? When you have two sides saying the exact opposite things, and no one can look at the same information and say, yes, I agree.
Yeah, it's absolute insanity, though. I wish I could do more.
We're just gonna keep going and keep talking.
Yeah. Hopefully next time I'll actually have some like shit put together that we can look through.
Yeah, but then it'll become kind of mechanical. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And we'll do another one hopefully soon. More
content coming soon to a screen near you. We will see you guys in the next one.
Oh, bye.